Yeah, my name's Hil Aked. I'm not actually a PSC member, disclosure, but I did briefly work there back in the day. I'm mostly organising a group called London Palestine. We were founded back in 2013 to provide a forum to wanting to organise outside of PSC across London in response to the BDS call. As a grassroots group, we've actually folded a couple of times over the years because it's hard to sustain these things, as everyone will know. But we've also done some campaigning work I'm really proud of, including non-violent action at arms factories, which kind of was a precursor in some ways to some of the stuff that Palestine Action Workers for Free Palestine did. We did a lot of cultural boycott activism around Eurovision and sort of queer solidarity work. Our politics is maybe a little bit different to PSC's. We're abolitionist groups, so when we do demos, we don't sort of ask the police for permission. We believe in like collective liberation, and we aim to be non-hierarchical. Of course, this is an aspiration. This doesn't always work in practice. So we're a bit different, but we work alongside and PSC, and very much believe that now is the time for unity in the movement. And yeah, as everyone who's involved in divestment campaigning knows, many people who go on the big PSC-led marches want to do more, including organising and campaigning in their communities to build power for divestment. So yeah, I've got a few hats on today. I'm sort of in LFP, and I'll talk about the Shape the CIV campaign in a sec. I guess like London for Free Palestine, because when we were founded, the rich ecosystem of Palestine solidarity that exists now didn't really exist back in the day. We sort of struggled to find our niche. But I'm also active with another hat on in Waltham Forest for Free Palestine, where we have a good relationship with the local PSC group as well. Shout out to Rada, she's here. We started doing a divestment. We started actually in October 2023 because one of the local MPs wouldn't even call for a ceasefire. John Cryer, that was. And we did actually do a U-turn eventually, which was good. Then, excuse me. Then we moved on to divestment campaigning in, I think, late 2023. And at that time, the Conservative government was still in power and trying to pass the anti-BDS law. So I think divestment we feared that it would be kind of blocked through legislation. We sort of blindly went ahead and started campaigning for it anyway. And as you know, the government changed, the BDS bill was defeated or didn't get time to pass. And so then we kind of had a bit of a front foot with the local divestment organising in Waltham Forest. We learned a lot from working with organisers from the London Renters Union, who have brilliant organising skills in terms of things like, power mapping, which is just like another word for what Rizwan is talking about, where you really get to understand the structure of the council, who's on it, what their interests are, and how that gives you leverage. We did lots of very, very grassroots work, including door knocking in the wards of the councillors who were kind of in strategic positions of power, like the chair of the pension committee, and that was quite effective. We did a lot of street outreach to get signatures for our petition. Got 3,000 signatures. I was away at this point, so I can't take credit, but people did, representation to councillors, and actually they said, yeah, okay, we're going to divest. So that was obviously a welcome statement, and as Lewis and others have flagged, the issue now is to make them follow through on it, because, lo and behold, they're sort of backtracking a bit, being very slow, not giving us timelines. So the next step in Waltham Forest, and as I say, I'm not super involved because I'm concentrating more on Shape the CIV, but we are building a campaign with other local groups, so London Renters Union, the anti-wage group. So it is an intersectional campaign, and calling on the council for a bunch of sort of progressive social policies, I suppose, including divestment, and saying, the next local elections, which are in May, right? You're not going to get our vote unless this is the platform we all stand on united. But yeah, and it was sort of out of the Waltham Forest campaigning that the Shape the CIV campaign emerged. Lewis had been doing some stuff on the CIV previously, and Ali, who I spoke this morning, came up with the Shake the CIV campaign, the name, sorry. The CIV is the London Collective Investment Vehicle. And what we realised when some people from the London Collective Investment Vehicle, or CIV, came to Waltham Forest Pension Committee, is that they were sort of passing the buck to each other, saying, like, you know, Waltham Forest were like, okay, we said we're going to divest, so how do we do it? And LCIV was saying, oh yeah, well, we need lots of other pension committees to say this. So we started realising what a big important player the CIV was. It's a body which manages £34 billion of pension funds on behalf of all the councils across London, and of that 7 billion is invested in companies that are complicit according to like the UN list, AFSC list, and profits. And it was something that also brought all the London campaigns together, because every single London council has at least some of its pension fund in the CIV. Some are 100%, some are much less, but because of this is very boring pension reform stuff, which I didn't think I would want to end up learning, but there you go. Because of these reforms that the government is doing to the way pensions work, it's forcing, it's legislating for all councils to pool their funding into these pooled funds like the CIV. So by I think May next year, theoretically all councils are supposed to have, in London, are supposed to have 100% of their pension funds in the CIV. So it's going to be even more significant. In fact, the only way to push for divestment, but potentially also even more remote and not democratic as a sort of financial institution. We're hoping that, it's going to be a multi-year campaign realistically, but we're hoping if we can make some progress, it could also help other campaigns across the country, because the CIV is one of, I think, 8 of these pooled vehicles across the country. So I think there's one up north called Border to Coast. It's obviously a bit easier for us in London to collaborate because we're in a smaller geographical region. But yeah, the idea was, I suppose, to do a bit of a pincer move, to not only put pressure on our councils, but to put pressure on the CIV, because our councils were turning around to us and saying, well, we can't do anything, it's the CIV, they're our financial advisors. And to some extent, the CIV are doing that back. So it's, to apply pressure to both sides, or both points. And I guess what we did initially was to do a lot of outreach, just sort of mapping all the groups across London we could find in the 32 London boroughs, and reaching out to them and saying, hey, listen, we want to start a joint campaign. The importance of building coalitions was really made clear. And I remember hearing Hil Aked speak in London quite near the start of the genocide. It was hard to hear because he said, you're going to have to work with people you don't like, you don't agree with all the time, but he was right. So there's about 30 local groups sort of signed up to the Shake the CIV campaign, about half are PSC groups, about half are not PSC groups, but we're all working together. Many boroughs have a PSC group and a non-PSC group, so we're all sort of, despite our rivalries and tensions, trying to work together. And we've been doing like lots of WhatsApp messaging in our different working groups, which is including research. People have talked about how important that is, comms, so I produce a logo and stuff, and obviously the campaign strategy of getting off the ground. And there's no like organising work, which is, relationships are so important to that, and also really hard. So some people who have been involved in the campaign know, there's always conflict and there's beef and it's exhausting. But I'm really proud of what we've achieved so far. I think it's got potential. There's so many skills. People are so committed to giving their time and energy to work together. And really, that's kind of the driving is that we really are more together than individually some of our parts. So just recently, on the 3rd of July, the CIV had a summer conference at the Tower of London. And the councillors who were attending, who were the sort of local councils representatives to the CIV, were due to have a guided tour of the crown jewels. So we just felt that was very appropriate and colonial of them. So we had a demonstration outside, and we also managed to sort of disrupt a little bit inside. And we heard that the barbecue and the tour of the crown jewels were cancelled as a result. We still kept that as a bit of a win, yeah. And the probably more significant win actually was that, not a win, but like progress, was that a sign of the CIV feeling the pressure was that they issued a new statement on the day of that demo and at their summer conference saying, we're aware of campaign calls for divestment. I mean, it was a weak statement, basically passing the buck to the national government and saying, the UK government has no sanctions, blah, 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 we just follow their policy. But the point is, it's clear they're feeling the pressure because they make claims about responsible investment, keeping on fashion. They like to walk. They like to talk the talk, but obviously never walking the walk. So if anyone's interested, there's a few people in my front row, myself, who are involved in, if you're involved in London local divestment campaign, or you just like to get involved in one, we actually need more capacity all the time. So come and chat to me after this. It will be like a multi-year campaign of slow building. But the idea is, I guess, that, hopefully maybe we can leverage all the wins like we see Kingston one, the more local, and the idea is it's very complementary with the local campaigns, you don't want to duplicate Labour, but the more local wins we get, hopefully the London-wide one is more achievable, and then we can just bypass the councils that are really awful and not going to budge, fingers crossed. So I'll leave it there.